Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another live hangout, the second for the year, number 2. With I don't know, I haven't counted how many we'll end up doing this year, but it's going to be close to 40, I think. Number 2 for 2025. I hope you are well. I am well. I'm chasing my tail today, and I was thinking. In fact, I started chasing my tail last week, I should say, and I'm still feel like I'm chasing my tail today, and I reflected on that just before jumping on here because I hurriedly put everything together to go live, and I thought, man, is this how the year starts? What's that say? Anywho, we're here. I hope everything is working as it should, because when I say I hurriedly, quickly put everything together, I'm not kidding. Normally I would sit here for 30 minutes and get everything nice, and like I dived in here in around about, I don't know, with 15 minutes to go. So hopefully we're good. I hope you are well. I had a great weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. It was my birthday on Saturday, a couple of days ago, and I had a great day. I said to my wife, Jody, the only way it could have been better was if my son had have been here in person. He's currently in Singapore. He's in the Air Force, for those of you who don't know, and so he's off guarding Australian military air assets. So it would have been nice to have him at home, but thus, it was good. We went to a winery, which was lovely, and had lunch with my sister, who I adore, and it was a great day. Some people don't celebrate their birthdays, but I like to mark the milestone, if you will, and spend it with close people who I love and cherish, and I got to do that on Saturday, so that was a good thing. I want to just quickly let you today we're doing Q&A, so that you know. There's already a poll question sitting in the live chat, so make sure you take the opportunity to answer that. We will reveal the results of our fun poll later in the show. It's kind of almost like a taster, a teaser into next week's mini topic, where we're going to be talking about belt and volume, how to produce healthy belt and vocal power in a sustainable way. We're going to deep dive into that as much as you can in a mini topic thing. And so that's going to be next week. The week after that, I wanted to sort of let you know what's happening in the coming weeks. The week after that, we're having Zac Bradford, good friend of mine, good friend of the channel. He's joining us again. And so Zac and I, we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions. We kind of get to this point, I think, in the year. In fact, I was saying, as you know, I go to the gym. I've started going twice a week. You'll all be very proud of me. I've started going twice a week, and I was. It's always, every January is always the same. And I don't look forward to January at the gym because it's packed. There's always too many people and too little gear to work out on. And anyway, it always gets to around about this time of year and the numbers just start to ease off, which I'm always, pleased for in one sense, because it means I can do my scheduled workouts. And I said to my wife, I said to Joe this morning, it was a little bit less chaotic at the gym this morning, and so that's what happens with singing. I think for some people, the New Year's resolution starts to burn off in the sun, and that New Year's resolution might be around things like practice or engaging in lessons or an online course. And so we want to talk about that next week and talk about sticky practice. How do we engage with our singing and our singing development in a more sustainable way? And well, we'll talk about it next week. I don't want to give too much away. Oh, sorry, in 2 weeks. We'll talk about it in 2 weeks when Zac comes and joins us. And then the week after that, so this is going to be the 3rd of March, I want to do our first ever live reaction video. Now, what we're going to do with that is I want to do a live reaction. You know how we do the analysis and reaction videos here on the channel. We talked last year about starting to do some, response reaction videos, not reactions, but analysis videos teaching around your recordings. And so I'm hoping that we can use one of your recordings. It might be someone who's in the Facebook group, and use those to do a reaction, and I will go through and comment. And I think you all know me well enough to know that it will be a very encouraging critique. It won't, no one's going to, do anything nasty. And it will be from the viewpoint of how do we improve this? How do we develop? And so I want to do that on the 3rd. And then the week after that, which will be the 10th of March, remember last week I said we've got a special guest that I'm really excited. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I've already done the pre-record interview with this person. I did it last week. I think it's actually what threw my week out, because I don't normally, as you know, I don't normally do pre-records as a part of the show. We usually do the live. Maybe here's a hint. I had to pre-record because this person is in the UK, and so our times, he was never going to be able to be on the live show, anyway. That's happening on the 10th. I'm still not going to tell you who it is, but I'm excited to show you the interview, because we really talk about an important topic, and so that's good. In the lead up to us doing a reaction video to one of your videos in a few weeks, at the end of today's show, I'm going to play my recording that I did for our Facebook group Valentine's event. So some of you may have even seen that performance already, but you all gave me a lot of really positive feedback. We played at the very end of last year. The very last thing we played was Run Run Rudolph, which was my secret singer contribution. Well, you gave me a lot of positive feedback from that, so I'm going to play my Valentine's event song, which is That's What Love Is For, and I'll play that at the end of today's show. So hang around for that. How are we going for... I'm interested to see what's happening with our poll. We've had 11 votes, and yeah, that's interesting. I'm interested at the skew of results thus far. So there you go. We haven't got any questions yet, peeps. So make sure you get your questions in there. Linda has not yet put any questions in there for me. Remember last week I said this will be a really boring hangout if I have no questions to answer, because at the beginning of the year we don't have any kind of held over questions from previous weeks that we didn't get to. So please, you got to throw your questions in. I saw Rebecca say before that right back at the beginning when she first jumped in, this is what Rebecca, I'll bring this over to here. Let's see if I can get I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. I thought this was a fun little comment from Rebecca. I'm ready for a good chat while everybody else here in Texas is watching Super Bowl Sunday. I want to talk about all things voice, not sports. I can appreciate that, Rebecca. I think a lot of the time we do have there is almost like this amnesty. Is that the right word? Not amnesty. Enmity. Is it? You know, when two things don't like each other. I think it's enmity. Tell me in the chat. Between sports and arts. And certainly when I was going through university, I was really cognizant of it because so many people that I was surrounded by, like, hated sports. And I always found that a little weird because I've always loved sports and loved music and singing, and I've really always been very passionate about being participatory in both. And so, but I can appreciate that not everyone feels that way, Rebecca. I'm interested to know who won said game. Is there a winner yet? I don't know. Oh, so Karen from Singwise is saying it is enmity. I can't say it. Is it on right now, Karen? Because that goes on for a while. I shouldn't. Obviously not as long as Test cricket, which is 5 over 5 days. I'm going to come up here because Rebecca's throwing in a question, which is good. It's not quite wrapped up, but the Eagles are way ahead. Does that Eagles? Oh, it's between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Is that right? So does that mean Tay-Tay's Chelsea won't win this year because they were going for a 3-peat? Is that right? I'm pulling this out of my back of my brain somewhere. Snowy. Oh, we've got this is cool. Look at this. This is awesome. Oh, hang on. Let me come back down here to. We've got to take that one off, and we bring up here. Look at where TW is. Snowy, South Korea. How to become musical when you're learning the skill of... Oh, this is a question. Rebecca, I'm going to come back to your question because I didn't realize this is a question. All I saw was good morning from Snowy, South Korea, and I jumped on it. Dr. Dan, how to become musical when you're learning the skill of music as someone... I'm in my late 30s who has no music background. Can I say to you, T, that my biggest encouragement to everyone on the journey of learning music is to listen more. And it's surprising, when I have new students come in, I do what's called a first consultation. And I sit down with the new student, and I often ask them, who do you like to listen to singing-wise? Who are your, and I'm often, and this is more a recent phenomena, more so than it was when I first started teaching. This is my 30th year of teaching. So it's probably it's become more of a thing in the last 10 years, I reckon. And I think it's driven by things like Spotify and the way we consume music now. But so few people who are singers can directly tell me who their favorite voices are. And it's interesting. I think often our listening to music is not active, it's quite passive. And so we don't, there tends to be, and these are all very generalized statements. So I think we don't tend to engage as actively with the music and the musician as we used to, and to understand who they are, what their background is. It's funny. It's almost like that's one of the things where Taylor Swift, and some other singers of like, have seemed to have broken through and really captured listeners' attention to the point where they do become active engagers in the music. They know everything about Tay Tay and her life, and that used to be, I think, more common than perhaps it is now. You might disagree with that, but the point being is that when you want to be singing in a particular genre, you want to be developing your voice and your musicianship into that specific space, you have to immerse yourself in that music. And so I want to really encourage you, T, to spend a lot of active listening. Don't just put your headphones on, while you're in the middle of a commute, or you're actually doing something else and you've just got music on in the background. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do that. But the moment I want to engage purposefully around a song, a singer, I'm active. I'm in the moment with the music. And so I'd really encourage you to do that. That's your first port of call. And then as you start to become active in your listening, you're going to be able to really start to break the different aspects of what you're listening to. You'll start to recognize certain nuances and characteristics of the singer or the music. But it all starts with active listening. I'm going to come down here to I've got to find here it is. This is a question from Rebecca. Rebecca is asking, thanks for the questions that are coming through, everyone. What would you say to someone who can't read music? I would say don't sweat it. Knowing how to read music a good thing? Yes, it is. Is it absolutely necessary to your ability to engage and perform music? No, I don't think it is. I think that's in part because of the era we live in, with media being what it is, the prevalence of our ability to be able to so easily actively listen to music, especially with the advent of something like Spotify. You can listen to anything. With YouTube, you can watch anything, and so as a singer, in fact, here in the studio, I don't require people to read music, and in fact, I'll often take away from those who do read music. I'll often take away those dots on the page, and only give them lyric. And it's in part because in contemporary music, you can't write feel onto a page. You can't write pulse. Yes, you can write tempo and rhythm, but not the groove. And so often particularly for classically trained musicians who almost certainly do read and often write music, there is a disconnect between what they are reading on the page and the feel that needs to be presented. And so one of the ways we get around that is remove the dots. And it does cause the singer to have to rely a bit more on their ear. Once upon a time, I think that was really, looked down upon. Certainly amongst your purists, it probably still is. But I think the vast majority of people that certainly come into my studio, and I'm talking even professional singers, then they're not active readers of music, and so I don't think you need to. There are, of course, certain scenarios in which being able to read music is going to be, if not required, certainly advantageous. If, for example, you are singing parts, so perhaps you're in an ensemble, a barbershop, a choir, where you are being required to not just sing a melody, then, learning to at least follow the contour of the dots on the page, becoming familiar with that is almost certainly a necessary point. But as far as being a solo singer, it's not as required as it used to be. And funnily enough, there are a lot of wonderfully gifted, talented professional singers. None of them come to mind right now, but I know over the years I've heard, such and such singer doesn't read music, and yet we all think they're wonderful. So hopefully that's reassuring, Rebecca. I don't know who you're asking for, whether it's for yourself or for someone else, but yeah, there you go. You don't need it. I'm just going to check in with the it's interesting, 14 votes, and there's still a little bit of skew going on there. Not as much as before, but a little bit. Excuse me. All the questions are coming in thick and fast. That's awesome. Let me find. We've got Erwin's question. Erwin, where is your question? I'm looking for it. Where am I? Come on. Show it to me. Here we go. It's the "Hi, Dr. Dan, how are you?" question. Let me just... You all have a read of that while I have a drink. How can I disengage the neck muscles in the high notes? I can only avoid tension if I sing with soft, small, and airy falsetto with oo vowel. Is that healthy? Probably. What it definitely isn't is versatile. You're removing a lot of different options there if that's all you can do. So whether it's healthy or not is probably secondary to the fact that it limits you in what you can and can't do as far as dynamic shaping. And I wonder, Erwin, and you would sometimes in lessons, I'll experiment with a student and I'll tell the student, hey, we're going to try something. This is not something I've ever done myself, and we're going to play for a bit. And so this might work, this might not work, but we're just going to find out. And so if you were here in the studio with me and you came with that question, I think we could play with the idea of actually having you lie on your back, with your head down, head down. We could put a small pillow under it if that was more comfortable, and if you were dressed appropriately, and so we would, and the reason I would do that is because it can be a lot harder to engage that upper musculature while you're lying flat on the back. And so you could play around with moving into your upper register while lying supine, I think is the right word, horizontal, and see if you're able to start to get the sense of those notes without the engagement of your neck muscles. And so, it sounds to me, Erwin, I don't know whether you've asked this question before. Well, not this question before, but whether you've asked a question that has been, in one sense, related, and that is around the idea of pressure and breath. But typically when we've got overt drive of the air of musculature, typically there's too much pressure. Of course, not in every single case, but that is often a go-to as well. I want to monitor what are you experiencing in the amount of air pressure you're feeling. So you might want to have a little bit of a look into that aspect of what's happening there for you, Erwin, but try the lying on the back thing. Again, I'm not telling you that it definitely will work, because I'm not 100% certain it will. I would be playing with you. I think it would work for some, but it may not work for all. And so see how you go. See how you go with it. Do we have a winner in the Super Bowl yet, Karen? Just interested. Nick, I'm looking for your question. Coming through. Oh, here we go. Hey Dan, been following you for a while now. Well, thank you for being along for the ride. Welcome to the Voice Essentials community. Yesterday I had a stage performance. It was really bad, like I was shaking. I have a stage fear. It was all messed up how I was shaking. There's two parts to the question. I'm sorry everyone, I'm just looking to see what the rest of the question was. Apparently here's the next part of the question. It was really embarrassed me, like I ran off stage halfway. Is there more? Yep, there is. Near is 19, by the way, everyone. I'm thinking of giving everything this month, like for singing, classical and voice culture and all, piano lessons, guitar worship, will all be together worth it. I want to encourage you to think through what is this all about for you. And sometimes it's important for you to be able to regularly reflect on what are you doing the music thing for. And sometimes what we start out doing it for is not what we end up at some one point or another doing it for. I'll give you an example. A couple of weekends ago, I was playing music at church. One of the ladies come up to me afterwards and said, and appreciated what I do, and she said, "Oh, do you play anywhere else?" And I said, "No, I know I used to play professionally, but now I only play here at church." Of course, I do our recordings and stuff as a part of the community event and all that sort of stuff, but most of my performance live in front of a live audience congregation is church. And she was like, "Oh," and I said, and I love it. I love doing it, and and what I didn't go on to say or explain is there have been other times when I have been doing national broadcasts from the Sydney Opera House, and there's been other times where I've been performing in front of 10,000 people on a live river stage, and other times when I, at the point, right, there at different points along my journey with music, music has had to be very different to what it is for me now. And yet I can say this with all honesty. I gain a great sense of contentment in what I do with my music right now. Perhaps even more because there's no pressure attached to it. I just get to enjoy it. And so I want to encourage you to reflect on what is this music thing about. And it may well be that what you started out with looking for it to be has shifted, has evolved, has changed. Maybe unexpectedly, maybe it's just now different. And what I guess I want to encourage you through what I think I'm taking from your comments is I would never want you to become discouraged in your music to the point that you'd give it away. It almost certainly brings you too much joy and satisfaction, and I want to encourage you to keep going with it and acknowledging that it's a long path of development. It won't be weeks or months or a few years. There is too much joy to be had in the journey, and I wouldn't want you to rob yourself of that by simply going, all too hard, or it was too embarrassing, and though I'm not trivializing that, I've had my fair share of embarrassing moments, let me tell you. But I don't want that to be the thing that causes you to hop off the ride. So I hope that's helpful. Near. Vava, one of our regulars. Let me come down here. I think this is the question here, Vava. Again, I need some water. Okay. I have a question. Excuse me. How can you find the nice level of nasal resonance? Because sometimes I try and it's too nasal, and sometimes it's not nasal at all. For example, Rihanna has a nice one. Thank you. Nasality, I'm pleased that I think we've moved beyond, certainly here within the Voice Essentials community, that we've moved beyond this idea that nasality is bad. We preference twang because twang gives us that clear, focused resonance that we're looking for, and we can shape that through the mouth. But nonetheless, we still have option for ratio, don't we? And that's exactly what your question is describing there, Vava. So what is the right amount and not? I think one of the challenges of monitoring that for yourself is what you hear inside your own head is unlikely to be accurate to what your audience is hearing. And so I'd be encouraging you to record yourself and to listen back, preferably not through just your smartphone, because a smartphone will compress everything so heavily that it could lean itself towards sounding more nasal than otherwise. So if you've got something a bit more, but if all you've got is your smartphone, then by all means use that, but just stand back from it a little bit. Like, don't record it there. I think that'll be too close. Just take it back and give yourself a bit of space so that you can get the full acoustic response, and just have a listen back to yourself on that recording, and make a judgment. And if you've got a set of trusted ears, friend or family, that you can play the same track back to, that's helpful. I was saying to, I think it was my son-in-law to be, just the other day, or was it someone else? Can't remember. Anywho, I was saying to someone that I find that one of the challenges of mixing audio and engineering my recordings and what have you is that what we do know about hearing is it's quite different to sight. When we kind of see the same things, but we definitely don't all hear the same things the same way. And our hearing has very different frequency contours from person to person. And I always find myself second guessing, is that going to sound any good? I don't know. It sounds good to me. Does it sound good to anyone else? So it can be helpful to reflect it from someone. And it can also be helpful to play it back through a number of different audio outputs, different speakers, so that you can really, take a handle on it through different sources. But try to identify what is a nice level for you, and then go from there. I hope that's helpful, Vava. We've got a reply here from Near. If I can find, this is the reply from Near from the thing before. Thanks, Dan. I want to build a career in music. Ever since I was 12, I do write songs, and all I just want to do is sing. And go for it, Near. That's an admirable pursuit. And I'm working with people every day of the week who come here into the studio, or I teach online, who are in pursuit of the very same thing. And but it's a journey. It's not a linear journey. It's a journey of ups and downs, swerves and curves, and so be prepared for that. Near, you're going to have awesome moments, and then really challenging moments. I had one of my young professional students, a long-term professional student. So we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and she was sharing her heart about the challenges she was currently facing in her pursuit of her career. And this is a young person who has invested a lot of time, a lot of study, and is currently working. But she, in this particular conversation, was expressing the fact that she is struggling and she doesn't feel like she's getting the traction she wants. And we talked about all of that, and we basically, talked about that in that moment, and we expressed that, we talked about those challenges and those things. And then I saw her literally 1 week later, and something had happened in her, career journey, and very exciting, and she was up and off again, and I thought to myself, and she wasn't expressing a desire to give up in the first conversation, but some people do. Some people find the going too hard, and you just never know what's around the corner, particularly from the creative industry's professional standpoint. Like it is a career of opportunities, but the only way you can realize those opportunities is to be in the game. But it is hard. It is hard. Let's answer one more question from Mr. Fomi Arti. Before we do, we're going to answer, take the reply from Vava. Vava is just making a reply to the comment we just had before. That makes sense. It sounds bad to me, but sometimes in recording doesn't sound that bad. But sometimes it sounds bad. Is there a way to know if sound good without the help of a third party? I think the recording, you have to trust. In that case, I would be wanting to marry what I'm hearing in the recording and what I'm hearing in my own head. But don't purely trust your own head, because it is unique to you. And you've got to take on board an external source to your own internal hearing, would be what I would say. Mr. Fomiato, good to have you here, Dom. Let me come down here. Last question, and actually, before we go to Dom's question, and then we're going to go to my performance. Here we go. I'm going to end the poll. We've had 15 votes. Nowhere near as many votes as we've had in the past. If you haven't voted yet, you've got to be quick, because I'm about to close it. 3, 2, 1. End poll. End poll. End poll. There's the results, peeps. It depends. It depends on the song. What happens when you try to sing really loudly? The drum. Rebecca, if I knew you had got that drum roll in a little quicker, it would have been good to have it before. Maybe I should wait for that in the future. It depends on the song. Yeah, I think it does. I thought there was hope no one heard that. Some people really do struggle to be louder. Yeah, some people are naturally reserved. But remember, we have to allow the art to dictate the terms sometimes. And so that sometimes requires more volume from us. And some, I would dare say, given that it was 15 votes, probably one person voted for confident and powerful and one person voted for like a rock star. Well, that's good. I'm glad you do. I'm glad you feel positive. We're going to come to, where am I going to? I'm going to find Mr. Fomiati's question. Here it is. Okay. G'day, Dr. Dan. Question: have you noticed any difference between working with neurodivergent singers? Yeah, there is a difference in play, Mr. Fomiati, and I think it's something that teachers do have to be aware of. I've taught and do currently teach people who either are declared in their neurodivergence, whether it be ADHD, autism, there can be a whole range of things, or sometimes it's not declared, and I might be thinking perhaps there's a bit of that at play, because some people are not even aware of that in themselves, and yet the learning behaviours perhaps suggest that that's the case. And so it really comes down to the individual, Mr. Fomiati, I think, as you would know, and it's hopefully equipping that person with the right environment, support, and acknowledgement that, for example, ADHD, we do need to have those moments where we stop and talk and have, piece it out a little bit more. So yes, I think there is a difference when I'm working with them. But I like to think, Mr. Fomiati, that I approach every individual, diagnosis or not, as individuals. And we all come to this singing game with a variety of differences that make us unique. And and so I think it's important that we always come to the singing thing, in that manner. We are going to get into. We're going to finish today's show with my thing from, what is it called? The Valentine's event. Some of you have seen this before, but I thought you might enjoy engaging with it. Again, the Facebook group is, if you enjoy these live shows, and a lot of you do come in weekly, you can continue to engage with the community at large in the Facebook community. And so I encourage you, if you're not already a part of the Facebook community, please jump over to Facebook, jump into the group, search Voice Essentials Community, and become a part of the group and engage, because we do these events on a regular basis. They're fun. It's supportive, and it really it truly is a lot of good fun, and done in I think with the right intent. So there you go. We are going to finish the show. I will sign off. Remember, next week, Minitopic. So come ready to talk about healthy belt and vocal power, and yeah, I'll sign off now before I do the song, because I'm not going to come back on until once the song, you know what I mean. I'll catch you again soon. Have a great week, everyone. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.
Sometimes we make it harder than it is. We'll take a perfect night and fill it up with words we don't mean. Dark side's best unseen, and we wonder why we're feeling this way. Sometimes I wonder if we really feel the same, why we can be unkind, questioning the strongest of hearts. That's when we must start believing in the one thing that has gotten us this far. That's what love is for, to help us through it. That's what love is for. Nothing else can do it. Melt our defenses, get us back to our senses, give us strength to try once more. Baby, that's what love is for. Sometimes I see you and you don't know I'm there, and I'm washed away by emotions I hold deep down inside. Getting stronger with time, it's living through the fire and holding on we find. That's what love is for, to help us through it. That's what love is for. Nothing else can do it. Melt our defenses, bring us back to our senses, give us strength to try once more. Baby, that's what love is for. Believing in the one thing that has gotten us this far. That's what love is for. to help us through it. That's what love is for. Nothing else can do it. Round up the edges, talk us down from the ledges, give us strength to try once more. Baby, that's what love is for. And that's what love is for. Melt our defenses, bring us back to our senses, give us strength to try once more. Baby, that's what love is for. And that's what love is for. And that's what love is for.